So yeah, so for this session, it will be quite different because this is the first webinar we'll be holding, and the first time we'll be talking about this new process to students. So we also have some guest speakers today, which I'm very happy to introduce later on. So, they all have several different hats that they are wearing, and I'm sure they will be, great to hear from, to know about all this information about how the enrolled nurse process came about and why it's so important that we have this in place. So also some general groundkeeping is I would like to ask for all questions to be asked at the end of the presentation. But if you do have a question that you're not sure that you can remember at the end, you can always feel free to just type it out in the chats and we can go through them at the end. And yeah, as mentioned before, this will be recorded, so you can always take down notes later on if you want to listen to this presentation again. So yes, great. I'll just introduce myself again for any newcomers. So yeah, my name is Melody and I am the ACE recruitment consultant for enrolled nursing. And I think we'll firstly start off with our guest speakers as they are, quite busy, and we'll let them talk about the topics that they want to talk about. So firstly, our guest speaker is Sue Hayward. So she is the DHB lead Dong of ACE Nursing and also is the chair of the ACE Nursing Reference Group. And another hat that she wears is that she's also the Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer at Waikato DHB. And Sue will be talking about, the DHB lead ACE Nursing. So Sue, over to you.
Thank you, Melody. Lovely to meet you online.
Yes.
And isn't this amazing? This is what COVID's done to us, isn't it? Brought us into
Indeed.
the century, and we're all connecting via Zoom or via Office Teams or whatever it is that we're doing. Welcome to all the enrolled nurse students that we've got online. It's just fantastic. And what I want you to know is that together with your enrolled nurse representatives and the District Health Board's Directors of Nursing, we have been able, with the support that we've got from TAS, create a platform through which you will be able to apply for a job within the DHBs. DHBs covering the entity within which they were set up under legislation. So that's inclusive of primary, it's inclusive of aged care, and of course, hospital services, wherever they may be. Now, by having a platform where you can apply, which we call ACE, which means Accelerated Choice of Employment, indicates to you all, I hope, the importance that we're placing on you, our future workforce. We have now absolutely committed to having registered nurses and enrolled nurses, and without the two of them, we're not going to be able to meet the future needs of the population of this wonderful country. So to do this, we have combined, we have discussed, we have debated, we have now got a great system we hope is going to work for you and also to work for your potential employer as well, because they're going to be able to go online and select and interview and do all of those things that will be done previously face-to-face and not always in that great way either. By having ACE for you to apply for, it means that if you are in a region that you've actually trained in, but you want to be employed in another region who don't have an enrolled nurse program, they will be able to see you online and be able to come to you online. So we're hoping like crazy that this is going to work. We hope that you will see the commitment we have for having a diverse workforce and a skill mix that we need to help meet the future needs. So I'm not going to go on because you've got a great time in front of you, but thank you for inviting me. And I just wish you all the best when you go through the application. Good luck.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Sue, for your time. Next, we have Kamini. So she is the workforce specialist at TAS and is also the workforce lead at ACE Nursing and the secretariat for the DHB Lead Nurses Group. And the topic that she'll be talking about today is giving some more background information on ACE. So over to you, Kamini.
Mute.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you, Sue, as well, for that wonderful introduction. Kia ora, everyone, and welcome to this first session for students on the ACE-EN process. We are very pleased, after years of hard work from many of the people that you will hear today from. This is the culmination of work that has been in the pipeline for a while. As Sue has spoken about, we have spent a lot of time debating and designing a process. But one of the most wonderful things about this journey, amid some very frustrating points for all of us, has been the fact that everybody, all parties across the sector, have been so deeply committed to enhancing the employment of enrolled nurses within DHBs. I'd like to congratulate all of you on coming this far in your training and studies. It is not an easy journey, and for each of you, it's been a unique one. I'd also like to acknowledge that over recent months, we've had to face unprecedented times and circumstances. We are aware that that has been disruptive to many of you in terms of clinical placements. We are also aware that for many of you, this means that you may end up starting later than you had initially anticipated. We know state exams are going to be a rolling stream of state exams. But what remains is our commitment to supporting you to be the best EN nurses employed and employing as many of you as possible into our district health board nursing workforce. ACE is something that is very close to my heart and to Sue's and the people that work with this. It is the DHB's program for to support the employment of graduates. We have a stream for the RMOs, which is the medical side. We have one for registered nurses, and now we are so proud to introduce the enrolled nurse stream. On the 1st of June, we will open up the process for applications. It has been a long journey. We know for you as well, it's been a long journey. We have settled upon a process that we don't claim is perfect, but we hope will be the best way of supporting you in optimizing your chances of employment. Every day I work across the 20 DHBs, and I work with a highly committed group of nursing leaders and nurses on the front line. And we so look forward to you joining that team. It is, it's been a hard few months. It's been a hard journey, no doubt, for you through your studies. I urge you to focus. There will be challenges, there will be barriers in upcoming months. Not all of you will get an interview the first time around. It may take a little while, but just stay focused, work on optimizing your areas of development, and be the best you can be every day. And I really wish you the best of luck. Thank you, Melody.
All right, great. Thanks, Kamini. Great. So our next guest speaker is Jane Bodkin. So she's the Clinical Chief Advisor to the Office of the Chief Nursing Officer at the Ministry of Health. And the topic that Jane will be talking to us about today is the strategic context for the ACE-EN process. So over to you, Jane.
Hi everyone, and I'm not going to talk for long, but just a couple of comments to make. As some of you will know, there was about 8 years when enrolled nursing training stopped in New Zealand, and subsequently the employment of enrolled nurses has been variable between DHBs and regions. I think in 2010 the EN scope, the new scope, was reinstated, so it's all been a bit confused, and that's unfortunately had a bad consequence on employment of enrolled nurses, and we really want to do something about that. There hasn't been a nationally consistent approach to employing them, and you guys are a really important part of the nursing workforce. You're prepared to work in a range of settings after you finish your diplomas, and we want to make the best use of enrolled nurses. So in terms of the policy context, the nursing team at the Ministry have been committed to raising the visibility and employment opportunities for enrolled nurses and better incorporating them into models of care since I started in 2015. I know NZNO have wanted this program for new graduate enrolled nurses for a long time too. So the ACE process is the gateway to this national support and practice program. We know that well-planned support into practice programs improve safety for new graduates, for employers, and for the people that you work with. And that successful transition to practice programs improve recruitment and retention of nurses and have a positive impact on the broader nursing workforce. So this is part of a broader piece of work. There's other things that we're trying to do as well. For example, you'll know, or you might know, that the voluntary bonding scheme this year for the first time is including new graduate enrolled nurses. So we're really pleased about that, and we're really pleased this program's up and going, and we want to make the best of your skills and competencies. Thanks.
Thanks, Jane. So our next guest speaker is Mariana, and she is the Principal Lecturer and Program Leader for the NZ Diploma of Enrolled Nursing at Otago Polytechnic. So the topic that she will be talking to us about today is the Kaupapa, Maori and academic perspective. Over to you, Mariana. Oh, sorry, Mariana, I think you're on mute, so I'll just, yeah, great.
Hi. Kia ora tātou. Hello, everybody. It's great that we're connecting across the miles with this technology into your homes and places of work. Ko waiau, who am I? Ko Miriana tōku ingoa. My name is Miriana. No Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Kuri, Te Aupōuri, Oku Iwi. So my tribal affiliations are to the far north. Engari, however, e mahi anau I roto I te kura matatini ki o te poti. I work at the Otago Polytechnic, and I'm here to, first of all, along with the other speakers, say congratulations, you're either completed or you're nearly there. So I'm representing the voice of the many academic leaders and clinical lecturers that have supported you through your program. And as such, we know and are confident that you're ready to go out and engage in that practice area that is so desperately waiting for your input. A reminder, and we'll be going through some of the, documentation and interview requirements, but a reminder that when you present yourselves for your interviews or your documentation, that you include and show that you have knowledge of anything that might uniquely give you that advantage over any other applicant. So knowing the area that you're going into, researching it, if there is something that is specific and that service is targeting and working to promote Māori health and well-being, then don't be scared to talk about that. If you do identify as Māori and you have your whakapapa that you are happy to share, likewise, if you aren't Māori and you want to share something that's relevant to your background, remember that is part of making yourself presentable to those that are considering your application. For some of you, there will be times of doubt in regards to what is required. And remember, even though you may have exited your School of Nursing, you will always find the team is still there ready to support any queries that you might have around documentation or anything to do with your academic transcript. So you can always come back to us. And I know that the teams that are out there in the institutions will support that. For those of you who are still finishing off your clinical placements here in Otago, we're part of the COVID delay. It's starting with our 500 level candidates. So they will be part of the group that Carmony referred to that are coming in later to sit their state finals. Keep working hard, keep on focus with professional development opportunities. The CVs can never be too light, and plus it gives you all of that extra knowledge. So I'll stop talking now. I'm around for the end if you have any queries, but remember you have a huge team that have got you and supported you this far, and we're still here to help you as you transition through the ACE process. So kia ora tātou katoa, that's me for now. Go well. Back to you, Melody.
Great, thanks Mariana. Next we have Tony Farrell. So he is the nurse consultant for the Workforce Development Training Unit at Canterbury DHB. And he'll be talking to us about mental health and addiction settings. Over to you, Tony.
Thank you. And like everyone else, I want to welcome you all and congratulate you for getting this far through the program. Like other people have said, you're a really welcome part of the workforce and a really important part of getting good outcomes for the people we work for. And in the mental health setting, that's obviously the consumers and their whānau. I'm here with Mel Lynott-Brown, who is a nurse educator who has worked with people in specialist mental health services in Canterbury DHB over the last year or so. We introduced a first year of practice program for enrolled nurses, and in my view, that's been a really successful program. And the enrolled nurses have been in that program have really added a huge amount of value to the workforce and for consumers. I'm really delighted this program's come along because we really have a strong commitment to think about the physical health of consumers and mental health, and similarly for people who don't have a mental health condition, helping enrolled nurses and other people to think about what are the mental stressors and the ways we can support people's mental health for other people. So we're really taking an integrated approach and really think that the skills that enrolled nurses will learn and bring to practice can be applied anywhere. We're really committed to making sure that the people who work in mental health services will have the support of an educator, in our case it's Mel, and to help you integrate those skills into practice and get some of that pastoral support during that first year. So that's pretty much all I've got to say for now, but Mel and I are here for any questions, particularly about mental health, or any questions that you may have generally that we can add. So once again, welcome, and look forward to your applications.
Great, thanks Tony. So our final guest speakers for today are Becky Hickmott and Lynn Marriott. So Becky is the nurse manager and for the nursing workforce development also at Canterbury DHB, and Lynn is the nurse manager workforce at Waikato DHB. And the topic that they will be talking to us about today is the DHB workforce education lessons. So over to you, Becky and Lynn. Oh, so sorry, we can't seem to hear you, Becky. Ooh, unfortunately, we still aren't able to hear you. Sure. Great. Sorry, as mentioned before, Zoom, there is always some technical issues sometimes. All right. What about Lynn? Are you able to, or are you also having technical issues?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you now.
Right.
Okay. So, oh, Becky is up. Becky, do you want to start?
I just figured out what it was. I was in another room on another setting, and that's why. So I just had to adjust it. My apologies. Kia ora, everybody. I'm not going to take long because Lynn and I are sharing this little discussion. But basically, from our point of view, nurses have had a long history with New Zealand, and we are very proud of the fact that we've got this NSIP document in place now, which is fantastic, and the funding now to accompany that, which is wonderful. And within Canterbury ourselves, we've had a long-standing relationship with enrolled nurse. The model of EN workforce here has been established for a number of years. I've been in the role with the Canterbury District Health Board for over 20 years now. And certainly we've had quite a wide-ranging numbers of enrolled nurses through the years. The settings that we hire are in the rehabilitation settings. We have a number of ENs in the acute areas, primary health. You heard Tony say about mental health and addictions, the community and aged care setting. And in all those areas, we have some very passionate nurse educators who are working hard to support all those nurses in those areas. And we're going to continue to build on that with the new INSIP program being made live as of June as well, which is very exciting. So we're going to be having our programs all in place for everyone, and we're just working collaboratively across the health system to ensure a real wraparound process is put in place. So we have a number of teams working on that, including Tony, which is great, and we're linking in with all national groups as well. So kia ora.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lynn Marriott, as introduced. Waikato also has a proactive stance with regard to taking on new qualified and enrolled nurses. And I guess to complement Bex, I'll just say that this gives us the mandate to continue to really work on aligning our new graduate programs so that there's collaborative and integrated learning, and we really set up the enrolled nurse workforce to be supported in their first year. We're already doing work on that. We have groups that meet, and we just feel that the enrolled nursing workforce will add greatly to this. We have nurses, particularly in mental health, theatres, and in many other areas, and we're happy to facilitate access to other areas too, and to partner with people outside the DHB. But we believe that by supporting you in your first year of practice, there's a lot of learning to be done for many nursing staff, learning by the colleagues of the RN colleagues and so on, as well as by yourselves as new enrolled nurses. So we really welcome you to come on board, and we can now improve even further the support and grow that support going forward. And I think that's what we're all looking forward to and we're all committed to. Thank you.
Right, perfect. Thanks so much, Becky and Lynn. Cool. Yeah, thanks so much for our guest speakers for taking the time to come and talk to us today. Next, we're just going to be looking at exactly what the ACE enrolled nurse process is. So we have quite a lot to get through today. So yeah, firstly, we'll be looking at some background about the enrolled nurse process, like who is eligible and exactly which components make up the ACE-EN process. So yes, we'll go straight into it. So firstly, what is the ACE enrolled nurse process? So essentially, this process supports the recruitment of new graduate enrolled nurses by district health boards. So from June this year, new graduates applying for an enrolled nurse position into an enrolled nurse support into practice program will have to do so through ACE. So yeah, the only way that you can get a basically funded position is through ACE. So the ACE-EN online process simplifies and standardizes the application process for positions and streamlines the recruitment of new graduates. So hopefully this way it will make this process much easier for applicants to get a role into the INSIP program. And DHBs will work with other health service providers to support the employment of ENs through the ACE-EN process in the wider health sector. So this includes the mental health and addictions, primary care and aged care, etc. However, something important to note is that the ACE-EN process is not the only way to apply for an enrolled nurse position. So you can apply to the employers or DHBs directly, but ACE is the only way to get a funded position. Cool. So eligibility criteria. Who exactly is eligible to apply through the ACE-EN process? So in order to be eligible to apply, you must meet the following criteria. You have to either be a New Zealand citizen or hold a permanent resident visa. And it must not have been more than 2 years since you had completed your nursing qualification in New Zealand or have passed your state exam. And another criteria is that you must not have practiced as a New Zealand enrolled nurse continuously for longer than 6 months before starting on your NSIP program. So what we mean by continuously is full-time at the 0.8 FTE or more. So yeah, no more than 32 hours per week for more than 6 months. Cool. So yeah, a brief overview of the ACE-EN process. So the ACE-EN process will begin in June 2020, so that's actually a week away. So it's quite exciting for us as well. So there's an initial one-off entry point in June for new graduate ENs to apply to participate in the process. And therefore, there will be a national talent pool of eligible applicants that will be created in July this year. So this EN National Talent Pool will remain open indefinitely, with applicants being able to exit or enter the talent pool based on their ability to meet the eligibility criteria, which was mentioned in the previous slide. So applicants throughout the country will be able to use the ACE online portal to put in a single application, and this will be shared with all the employers that will be participating in the process. So, yep, this is a brief kind of summary of the ACE-EN process. So this PDF is also up on our website and also our Facebook page. So you can definitely feel free to look at it closer at a later time, because I know there's quite a lot of content in this slide. Cool, but yeah, we'll talk a bit more about the application process throughout this presentation. And so yes, the first kind of intake will be this June, but then afterwards there will be specific entry points scheduled annually when applicants may apply to enter the EN National Talent Pool. So these entry points will align with the annual state exam dates according to the table below. So there's usually 3 state exams in a year in March, July, and November. And then the EN applications will open up a month later, where there will be a month for you to complete your applications. And then afterwards, the National EN Talent Pool will open. So for the March state exam, the talent pool will be open in May. For the July state exam, it will be open in September. And for the November state exam, the talent pool will be open in January. Cool. So again, this is a quick look at the ACE-EN application process. So the first thing you will need to do is register and create an account on the ACE-EN website, which is on the link at the bottom of the slide. And after you create your application, your profile, you will then need to log in and start your application. And firstly, there will be a series of information sections. So there will be things like questions asking you where you had completed your qualification and when you're intending to sit your state exam, for example. And as part of your ACE-EN application, you will also need to submit some documents. So these include resume and cover letters, certified proof of your identity and immigration status, and also certified academic transcripts. And then as part of your application, you will also need to preference your employers and also practice settings. So you can rank up to 5 of each. And yeah, so it's up to, so if you want, you can just nominate 1 employer preference or 1 practice setting preference if you like. But so the maximum is 5 and minimum is 1. And then you will also need to nominate 2 referees. So 1 will have to be a nurse preceptor and 1 will have to be a clinical tutor who had supervised you during your transition placement. And then finally, like all other job applications, you will need to complete the declaration section. So you need to declare any history, any health and criminal history. And then finally, you need to submit your complete application. And then that's, a brief, quick overview of how your application process looks like. So cool, we'll look more into exactly what documentation you'd need. So as mentioned before, you will need your proof of identity and immigration status. So this really depends on what citizenship you have. So if you're a New Zealand citizen, you will need the photo page of your New Zealand passport, or a full New Zealand birth certificate, or a New Zealand citizenship certificate. And you will also need to provide a New Zealand driver license or a New Zealand student photo ID card. So you need 2 proof of identity, the primary one being a passport or birth certificate or citizenship certificate, and the second being a driver license or a student ID card. And then for permanent resident visa holders, you will also need a photo page of your passport from the country which you are from, and then accompanied also with evidence of a permanent resident visa, as well as a secondary proof of ID. So the same, either a New Zealand driver license or a New Zealand student photo ID card. And you will also need to supply any supporting documents for any name change. For example, a New Zealand marriage certificate or a New Zealand birth certificate. And then you will also, of course, need to complete and submit the 2 reference forms from your nurse preceptor and clinical tutor. So you would just need to basically input the details of your referees in the application portal, and they will then be an automatic kind of email sent to your referees with the reference form, which you will need to fill in. And we will talk a bit more about this reference later on in the presentation. Cool. So, of course, as part of your application, you need to attach a resume and cover letter. So I'm not sure if you have or will be having one soon, but usually it will be good to attend like a resume and cover letter workshop. Or if not, there's always plenty of options online or also in the library. So books that you can look at and websites for you to get some tips on how to draft the perfect resume and cover letter. So your resume and cover letters should be clear, succinct, and well-structured. And usually your resume should be a maximum of 3 pages, and the cover letter about 1 page. So for the cover letter, you can upload 1 generic cover letter for up to all 5 of the employer preferences you have ranked. Or alternatively, you also have the option to attach a cover letter for each of your preferred employers. So you may want to do this if you like a particular practice setting at one DHB, but then maybe another practice setting at a different DHB. So this is completely up to you as to whether you want to just upload 1 cover letter or 1 cover letter for each of your employers. So we do have templates for the resume and cover letters online on our website. However, you are encouraged to use your own template and to style it how you like. But the templates do have some good information for you as to what you need to fill in and some good tips on what you could include. And in your resume and cover letters, you should communicate your nursing philosophy, your short to mid-term clinical goals, and make it clear why you have selected the areas of specialty in your application. You should also try to research your employers. So you can do this by going to their career web pages to gain an insight into their culture. So you can make it clear why you want to work for your preferred employers. So you only have this 1 chance to impress the hiring managers and nurse managers. So you want to make this count. And then finally, you want to ensure that your resume and cover letters are free of spelling errors and grammar mistakes. So it's always a good idea to have someone proofread your documents like a friend, family member, or even someone at your nursing school if they're happy to do so. So we do know that it could take hours to create the perfect resume and cover letter, and you don't want to have all your work undone by just a few grammatical mistakes. Cool. So as part of your application, you will need to select your preferences, as we mentioned before. So you can select up to 5 employers and also up to 5 practice settings. So the employers that will be participating, you can find them on our website. So at the moment, we don't have much information on there, but it will be up. But more information will be coming soon over the next few days. And applicants in the National Talent Pool are able to change their preferences at any time. So you can do this by emailing us. And I'll have our email address at the end of this presentation for you to take a note of as well. So the box below has a list of the practice settings which are available. So there's about 16 practice settings available here. And if there's a specific subspecialty that you are interested in, you could also include this in your cover letter to the different employers. So that's another reason why you may want to have a different cover letter for each of the employers you have ranked. Cool. So next we come to the references. So with the first EN process starting in June of this year, if you are intending to apply to this intake, you should hopefully by now already have an idea of the referees that you want to approach who will be able to create your reference for you. But if not, it's definitely a good idea to get in contact with them now, as you want to make sure you ask your referees for permission before you send the ACE electronic reference request, so they know to keep an eye out for this email. You want to make sure that the email address for your referees are correct, as otherwise they won't get this reference request to fill out a reference for you. And something important to note is that your referee report and your application is only complete once both your referees have completed and submitted your reference to ACE. So yeah, it's really up to you as well to make sure that these references are completed and that you do keep in close communication with your referees throughout this time. So in order for your application to be deemed complete, both referees must complete and submit their referee reports to ACE before the application deadline. Cool, and this is an example of what the reference section will look like in your application portal. So you will see that there's 2 references and there'll be like a few fields that you need to fill in. So there'll be the name, designation, whether they're your clinical tutor or nurse preceptor, their phone and email contact details. And then the bottom field is the status field. And this is where you can check whether your reference has been completed or not. So if it has been completed, you will see there's a line that says when it was completed. And if it hasn't been completed, it will be blank. So this really falls on you, and it's your responsibility to make sure that the status is set as complete. And if not, it's always good to contact your referees and remind them. Sometimes because the reference request form is an email, it could end up going into their spam folders, or otherwise your referees may have also been asked by quite a few other students and they may have simply misplaced your reference request. So it's good to follow up and to make sure that your referees are able to complete your references on time. Cool. So once your application is complete, it should look something as follows. So you will see that for this, it has the nursing intake, but for the EN process, it will look something very similar to this. So we see on the left-hand side that there is the list of all the different sections you will need to complete. And once it has been completed, there will be a green arrow, there will be a green tick next to them. So if all the sections have a green tick next to them, then your application is complete and you don't need to do anything else, except if you want to change any details like your contact details, or maybe you want to make changes to your CV and cover letter before the application deadline. So you will also notice that there is no actual submit button on the application, and that's correct. As long as there are green ticks next to each of the sections, then your application is complete and you can just wait for it to be submitted after the application closes. So it'll be submitted automatically. Cool. So what happens when applications close? So once applications close for an ACE-EN entry point, the ACE team will then audit all the applications. So we'll do a check to make sure that only the eligible applicants are moved into the EN National Talent Pool and that they remain there while they are eligible. So all the ineligible applicants will be exited from the process, including any applications that are incomplete. So for example, if the reference form has not been completely filled out, then they also will not be put into the EN National Talent Pool as the application has not been completed. So all participating employers will have access to the EN National Talent Pool and the supporting information provided by applicants. And applicants exit the EN National Talent Pool if they withdraw all their eligibility changes. So this includes applicants who become ineligible because it's been more than 2 years since they passed the state exam or since they completed their qualification. Cool. And next we come to the references. So this is definitely quite an important part of your application. And ACE uses a standardized reference check form. So the questions are divided into the 4 enrolled nurse competencies. So this includes professional responsibility, management of nursing care, interpersonal relationships, and interprofessional relationships. And each question is graded on a scale of 1 to 5 across the nationally agreed ratings of performance for an enrolled nurse. So if you add up all the points, that ends up as a maximum as 70 points. So you can get a maximum score of 140 points since there are 2 references. Cool. And this is an example of what the referee report looks like. So yeah, this is for the professional responsibility questions. Cool. And after those eligible applicants have completed the applications and are moved into the National Talent Pool, this will then come the interview and assessment process. So this process, ACE has no part in, as it will be purely done on the part by employers. And employers will use their own criteria to determine which applicants they interview. So applicants will liaise directly with applicants in the Enrolled Nurse National Talent Pool to work through recruitment processes to fill vacancies. And unfortunately, not everyone will be interviewed. So if you're not sure why you weren't offered an interview or why you were shortlisted, or you have any questions regarding the selection or hiring process, it will be best to ask the employers or the INSEP coordinators, as ACE will have no knowledge about this. And employers are responsible for determining the number of positions available and undertaking interviews, conducting the selection process, making employment decisions, and finalizing the formal employment process for successful applicants. So also employers, after they have gone through the interview, they will advise ACE of all accepted and declined offers and the practice setting successful applicants are employed in, as applicants who have accepted an offer will then exit the talent pool as they have got a job offer. Cool. So for the interview preparation, you want to make sure that you are feeling as confident for that as possible. And again, there's plenty of resources which you can get access to, whether that be online or, from books in your library. And it's also a good idea to practice interviews with someone that you know, so with your friends, family, etc. And each employer has their own interview and selection process. So if you are invited for an interview, you should ask the INSEP coordinators about what you can expect during the interview and whether you need to come with additional documents such as portfolios. So interviews may be conducted by panel members, they may be one-on-one, or there may be a group interview. So yes, once again, it's good to ask the INSEP coordinators beforehand so you are feeling as prepared and confident for your interview as possible. So during your interview, you should be prepared to talk about your clinical knowledge and your experience as a trainee nurse. You should also be prepared to talk about your nursing philosophies and what drives you. And also be prepared to provide examples about situations relating to your experience in nursing and patient care. And yeah, as mentioned before, it's good to research interview techniques online and practice with friends, family, or colleagues. Cool. So for some more information regarding the ACE enrolled nurse process, you can go to the following links here. So our website for enrolled nurse is up, and definitely feel free to browse through this, and more information will be populated on the website over the following days. We also have an ACE enrolled nurse Facebook page, which again, I will recommend for you to follow. As we do throughout the application process, we will post up helpful tips and reminders. And then finally, we also have the ACE Contact Center. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact us, and here is our email address. Otherwise, you can also access the Kiwi House Jobs website and DHB Career websites to research more into the employers and what vacancies they are on offer. Great, so yeah, that was a very quick kind of overview of the whole ACE process and what that looks like. So yeah, I'll open the floor up now to any questions. Cool. I think we have some. Yes.
Hi, it's Leonie. I'm just wondering, I rewrote my exam in November, so I've re-graduated. So it's been a while since I've done any clinical placement or anything like that. My interest is mental health. So I'm currently working for Pathways. I've moved down to Picton, so I'm based in Marlborough, Blenheim, Picton. There's not that many opportunities for ENs at the moment. And with Pathways, they don't actually employ ENs, so I'm just working with them as a support worker. Will the ACE program roll out to Pathways as one of the health sectors with regards to mental health and addiction, or not?
So I guess this really depends on the employer and kind of what vacancies that they have. Okay. Unfortunately, we won't know at this time, but usually the employers will post up on their websites as to which vacancies they have for which practice setting. And of course, ACE will also try to get this information and post it up on our ACE enrolled nurse website as well. Yeah.
So with regards to the employers that's available, can we see them? Like when we apply online for ACE and we actually go through all the processes,
Yeah.
are we aware of which employers are actually out there that's committed to the ACE program?
Yeah, you will definitely see that. So we will put that in the application portal and also on our website as well.
Thank you.
Melody, I'll just add to that. Leonie, all the 20 district health boards support the enroll nurse process. However, each of those district health boards makes independent decisions about their employment. So the ACE process will make the national talent pool available to all 20 DHBs. How they utilize that is outside of our control, and we will have information up on the ACE website about each of those employers. What we won't have is information about the vacancies they have available, because we have no visibility about that. We won't have information about necessarily who or which providers they're working with in the community, because again, this sits at DHB level, and different DHBs have different arrangements with the providers in their district health board area. And so it is different in terms of the other ACE processes, in the sense that the ACE team is able to make information available to employers, but doesn't have visibility about job offers, about vacancies ahead of time.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for not only me, but also maybe our guest speakers as well? Cool. Right. If no one has any, yeah, you can also maybe type it out in chat if you don't want to ask it out loud, or you may be muted and you're not sure of it. But yeah, just see if there's any other questions. If there's no other questions, you can always contact us and email us, or also ask us, Facebook message us as well. We'll always be happy to help out with any queries that you may have.
Tony, did you?
I just had a quick question. Hi, my name's Ella. So I'm a year 2 student enrolled nurse, and originally we were meant to be doing states in July, but now because of the pandemic it's in September. I was just wondering, at what stage can we apply to with the ACE program?
So you will, Melody, are you comfortable answering this, or should I jump in?
I think I'll just leave it to you, Colony.
So hello, Ella. Lovely to have you here. Once you have completed your state exam and you have your results, is when you will want to apply for the next entry point. So the entry points are aligned with the traditional dates for the state exams. However, we do know those dates are changing. So that means that there may be a few additional ones before the September entry point into this process. So as soon as you have your results for the state exam, then you can put in an application for the next entry point. The reason we have this is because immediately after applications close, an eligibility test is done and applicants move directly into the national pool and need to be ready to start work immediately. So if an employer went in and did an immediate, very quick recruitment process, in theory, they should be able to land you really fast into a role.
Sweet, awesome, thank you.
Cool. Any other questions?
Melody, hi. Sorry, next week's session, is it the same as this one, or is that another part of the ACE?
Yeah, so it will be the same, pretty much the same session as this. So if you have come to the session and you feel that, you know what the ACE EN process looks like, then you don't need to attend the following session next week.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, if we have no other questions, I think I might leave it here. Thanks so much for everyone for attending, and especially for all the enrolled nursing students. Best of luck. And yeah, definitely, stay strong through this, whole COVID situation. It's been quite a few interesting couple of weeks. And yeah, it's always lovely to, meet some of you online as well. Cool. All right. Great.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, Melody.
Bye.
Thanks, Harmony.